Hi friends, welcome back to the Share Report. We are back with another Cook With Me video and doing a little chit-chatting, a little reporting, all the things. So we're gonna get started. Of course, last time I put on my apron that my mom bought me, which I love, and has cute little elephants on it. So I had plans on making a Korean dish, but I realized that I did not take the correct protein out. I was going to, with this particular dish, is called bulgogi. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly, but it is a Korean dish and it is really tasty, kind of like a sweet, savory beef dish, but I did not take the correct protein out. So today we're gonna be cooking lamb chops, mashed potatoes, and some fresh vegetables. So I got my potatoes here. I like to use the golden ones. For some reason they just taste really flavorful, and I have these on hand. So we're gonna get to chopping. We're gonna wash my hands first, wash our vegetables, all the things, and then we will get started with this video and then just chit chat about a few things, okay? Okay, so chopping potatoes up for our mashed potatoes, pretty simple. I'm making one to two servings, so there we go. We got our potatoes all chopped up here. I'm gonna just throw them in the boiling water. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about some recent things that have popped up in the political world. And one of them, I was reading the comments on one of these social media sites that talk a lot about politics, and one of the slides that they were showing was of Trump talking about how he's going to stop all this trans stuff, the alphabet community, and mutilating children's bodies and all the things, and how he's saying he's going to put a stop to it. And then in the comments, because this is pretty much a liberal site, but most people were on board. They're like, yes, way to go. I'm not a Trump person, but this needs to stop all this alphabet community on children, pushing that on children, and all the drugs and the surgeries and all the things mutilating their bodies. We are definitely against that. So we had a lot of people that had common sense in knowing that that's wrong. And then there were some people in the comments talking like, hey, you're focusing on the wrong thing, telling Trump he's focused on the wrong thing. What about student loans? So of course typically I scroll through on these kind of sites because people typically at liberal sites, they don't want to hear anything, and you're just kind of opening up a large argument. But sometimes I will add a little bit in there, my 2 cents. So while we're doing that, I'm going to chop up some fresh vegetables, and let's see here. I'm actually gonna grab an onion because I think grilled onions would go really good with the lamb. So let me get an onion. So anyway, so I'm gonna chop this up. So I personally said, okay, so when you take out a loan, a student loan, you are signing a contract and promising to pay it back. I personally, whenever I didn't have any loans, I just paid for my schooling. But I like to think of it this way. When you ask to borrow something and you write in the contract that you're gonna pay it back, that's your responsibility. Like whenever I wanted to buy my house 5 years ago, I put on the contract that I would make a certain monthly payment. Of course, it adjusts whenever your property taxes and insurance go up, but I promised to pay a monthly amount because that's what I put on the contract for the loan until I completely pay this house off. So that's my responsibility. That's no one else's responsibility. And I think that's what we are lacking in America, is people taking on personal responsibility. People don't have any personal responsibility, which leads me into the whole abortion. And of course, we know this election was very much about it, especially for women that are on the left side, more progressive, very, very much left side. They're very focused on that. And I think a lot of people in the abortion world who talk about women's rights don't really think about what they are wanting. They're like, oh, the same people who say oh, we want less government telling us what to do with our bodies, but at the same time, they're wanting to give control to the whole government on that particular issue. Where now the Supreme Court has put it in the state's hands for the people to decide. So in essence, that's actually less government. It's actually leaving it up to the people and not having the government dictate anything of that sort. So I think people have segments of their mind where they don't want the government involved in their lives, and then when it comes to abortion, they want everybody to the whole government to be in control of that and put that responsibility in the government, because that's what they really want. So I just think that there's a lack of accountability, a lack of responsibility, because everybody knows the same people who say trust the science are the same people who want, say, women's rights. Okay, so science says if you do a certain act, babies come about. Okay, that's what the science says. So we all know how babies get here. If you're responsible and do the responsible thing, then you won't have to worry about babies getting here, unwanted pregnancy. So I just have a really hard time with people who don't use common sense and think things thoroughly. They just use it as a form of very rapid birth control and don't think about the consequences and all the things. So that's just one of my thoughts that I have. Okay, so I chopped some onion. I'm getting ready to throw this into my iron skillet, which is my trusty best friend. We're gonna get that going and saute these onions here. All right, so we're gonna toss our onions in this beautiful skillet. Like I said, let these caramelize. Once those caramelize and get super soft, then we will add our lamb in here and season everything. And just to add a last little 2 cents on the whole abortion thing is that, you know, it hasn't been taken away from women. Women can still terminate their pregnancies. It hasn't been taken away from them. It's now states' rights. And just like how if I wanted to go to the mountains, obviously there are no mountains in Florida. We have beaches, we have some hills, but we're mostly flat. That's what we have. I don't come to Florida for mountains. I go to Tennessee or North Carolina if I wanted to see mountains. That's the same thing. If you really want access to something, just go travel to another state to get access to something that you really want. So that's what I wanted to say about that. We will tidy that. We will tie those ends up and not bring that up for a little while, hopefully. So I have these peppers. I typically like chopping my peppers up and eating them fresh with like tomato and everything. So I'm not going to saute these. I'm actually going to just chop these up into nice little strips. And then I'm gonna prepare my lamb, which I love. I get my lamb, I like the grass-fed lamb. I like to get mine from, we have a store here in Florida called Publix, and everybody knows Whole Foods. So delicious, delicious. And I saute them with just some butter, salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic salt, however you like. And they're just so wonderful. As you can see, it's beautiful lamb. All right, and there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is the border. But I'm gonna prep everything, clean some things up so that I can get my lamb ready to saute. Okay, so I'm going to add my lamb in the center here with the butter. I have some butter that I'm kind of melting all over the place. Adding my lamb to sear. On both sides. And then I'm going to add some salt. My favorite is salt. And then some pepper. And then I'm gonna let this all saute, flip it over, and then just let it slowly cook through. I like my lamb and my steak kind of on the medium side because it makes it nice and juicy. So we're gonna let that simmer for a little while and cook. So I'm gonna report on one last little thing. and it is about the former ICE director, Tom Homan, that President-elect Trump has appointed to be the border czar. There has been some controversy over some of the things that he has stated, which we know that was one of the main things during this election that people were concerned about. They were concerned about inflation, the border, jobs, a lot of economic things, and basically just us being overrun by illegal immigration. I didn't say legal immigration, illegal immigration, and all the crime that comes with it. So I'm going to play a clip for you so that you can see his great response, because people are always trying to pull at the heartstrings of the American people and say, well, what about if you're breaking up families? And I think his response was just right on point. I'm going to play that clip for you.
This morning, former Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director Tom Homan, who carried out one of the most controversial border policies during Donald Trump's first term, is set to return to the White House. The president-elect announced Homan will serve as border czar, tapped to fulfill Trump's campaign promise of the largest mass deportation in American history. Homan recently spoke with 60 Minutes.
I hear a lot of people say, the talk of a mass deportation is racist, it's threatening to the immigrant community. It's not threatening to the immigrant community. It should be threatening to the illegal immigrant community.
As ICE director, Homan led the zero tolerance policy that separated parents from their children at the border. The ACLU estimates between 500 and 1,000 families have yet to be reunited. When asked if there's a way to carry out mass deportations without separating families, Homan said this.
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Trump also weighed.
So I think that was a very clever response. The whole family can go together. Because people are consistently trying to pull at your heartstrings. Well, you're going to separate families if you just deport the dad or you just deport the mom. Well, people do not think about all the other breaking apart of family members that they do whenever they let children get trafficked over here. They got taken away from their parents. They got trafficked, and they're not doing anything about that situation. Yet they're trying to pull on our heartstrings, which for a lot of people it's not working because it's very insincere, extremely insincere. So, and just dishonest all the way around. So I think that was a really good point that he had made, that they can all just go back together to where they came from. So I wanted to touch base on those few reports and just talk about it and just have an open conversation about it. And so far, I'm really liking the candidates that President-elect Trump has been appointing to different positions in his cabinet. Can't wait to see what the Senate majority, who they pick to be the leader of the Senate majority. I'm hoping it is Rick Scott, because I believe he is the best candidate for the position. There are some other people that I really like, but they have not put their name out there, or maybe they wouldn't get enough votes. But for this particular position, I believe that Rick Scott is the best candidate, because the other two were very pro wanting to put the J6 people behind bars. So that is one of the things. So I'm getting ready to finish up cooking, take everything out, put it on a nice plate, serve it, all the things. So let's go check on things and we'll wind down this video. Okay, everything looks good. They look nice and sauteed. Okay, all done. Nothing super fancy, just something nice and classic. Some mashed potatoes, a little lamb, and vegetables. Looks quite delicious. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little cook with me video. I hope to do another one soon. Maybe next time I will let you join in on the Korean dish I was planning to make. And I hope you enjoyed this political chat as well. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, for your support, your comments. I read each and every one of them. Whether they're negative, positive, whatever it may be, this is a free speech place. So thank you so much for being here, and see you in the next video.